Okay, so next we have our Long Beach colleagues on with us. I have on the agenda for Brianna and Ashley to share. Do you ladies want to go first, or we have Kirsten and Adrian?
We're good to go. I can share my screen if you'd like.
Ashley? Okay. All right, great. So we have Brianna and Ashley from the Long Beach School District. So let me stop sharing my screen. Okay. All right, you should be.
Okay, let me know if that works.
Yes, we see it. Thank you.
Yes? Okay, perfect.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brianna Carnevale.
And my name's Ashley Gary.
And we are both ELL teachers at Long Beach High School. So we have students in grades 9 through 12. And especially now more than ever, we feel that it's so important for our ELLs to get that social emotional support. So we just wanted to start off our presentation with some of the common struggles that our ELLs have been facing, or, for anyone that are impacting their mental health. So one of the biggest things is experienced trauma coming to the United States. So of course, when every English language learner comes to the United States, they have their own unique story. So mentally, emotionally, physically, their experiences do shape them once they get here to the United States. So it's something very important to think about with mental health. Also, some of our students are meeting a family member for the first time in the United States who they didn't necessarily grow up with in their home country. So with the new family member comes new rules and routines at home versus how they were raised in their home country, which of course can cause a whole bunch of obstacles and different situations that as teachers we need to be very aware of and can also impact mental health. Additionally, a lot of our students are trying to manage work and at the same time their schoolwork and to achieve their diploma and to create a future here in the United States. But of course, trying to balance both is not necessarily the easiest thing to do. So these students need money to pay for their lawyers. They work extra hours on the weekends. They work after school to support their family here in the United States and contribute. They send money home to their families to support them back in their home country. So that, of course, also impacts their mental health and how they might be physically in the classroom, depending on, if they worked long hours the night before. And then finally, different at-home learning challenges. So when the student is at home, we don't necessarily know, are they living in a one-room apartment? Are there 4 other family members living with them? So these small nuances do affect their mental health and how they are in the classroom.
Yeah, and of course, as Brianna said, there are ways to help. So our responsibility as educators and as teachers is to make sure that our ELLs and the families are aware of the different resources that we have. So whether it's the social workers or teachers or guidance counselors or principals, just making sure that the family, if they need help, that they get the help that they need. Our district also offers parent workshops where parents can learn about, what their rights are and how to use Zoom and how to kind of like what's going on with coronavirus also in today's day. And then as teachers, we can help our students focus on mindfulness activities. So focusing on positives, encouraging journaling, and community outreach. So our district's been providing a lot of clothing and food donations to families that are in need that will, of course, help support their social emotional learning because it starts at home. So one thing that Brianna and I have both incorporated into our ENL classes is my stay-at-home journal. And this was adapted from a resource I found on Twitter, actually. So basically, it's just a way for our students to really document how they're feeling, and it gives us as their teacher an insight into their day-to-day life at home. So how they're feeling, what do they see when they look out their window every day? What are some of the foods that they've been eating? And then also, like, what good has come out of this coronavirus and this time at home, because it is such a negative time. So really trying to get them to focus on positive. And as you can see on the right, is a bunch of student sample, and just seeing really, it really helps the teachers like relate to the students. And maybe I have a pet bird also, and my student has a pet bird, and now that's something in common that we have, and we can talk about that. And also with Google Slides, co-teachers can both collaborate on the task, leave comments, and of course there's ways to differentiate this for different E&L levels.
Yeah, so that's a really important point. So Ashley has the entering E&L students, and I have the transitioning. And it's a great tool to use for both levels. So for my students, I would expect them to write a paragraph. We would both give them writing checklists. They would have to color code their sentences. You know, do they have a subject, verb, all the sentence components? So it is a great way to, you know, start off communicating with them with their emotions and how they're feeling, but then also turn it into a productive language-based activity that just reviews and, you know, recaps different ideas that they need to be productive writers. So something that I created for my students was a social emotional learning choice board. So I got the idea based on this one graphic on the left side of the screen, just talking about different activities at home that the students can use to build their skills. So a couple of the graphics and the ideas I wanted to turn into an activity. So on the right, I just came up with a couple activities that the students can do with their families, by themselves, and a lot of these activities can be turned into Google Classroom assignments, and you'll see Ashley turned a couple of them into assignments. So for the first one, a neighborhood scavenger hunt. So something as simple as this, which has so much language in it, encourages not only for a student to take a break, get out of the house, or even just to walk around the house. You can have different vocabulary lists for what you want the students to focus on. But something like this just gives the student an opportunity to talk, to write. So for my transitioning students, I would have them, of course, identify the vocabulary words, but then also maybe record a Flipgrid and talk about their walk through the neighborhood with their parents. How did it make them feel? How is their behavior, their mental state changed from when they were sitting at the computer to now? Are they stress-free? Can they think a little bit more clearly? So something like that, a scavenger hunt, is great. And the vocabulary list can be adaptable to house vocabulary in different rooms in the home if they don't want to go outside. This I just thought would be a great alternative now that the weather's getting nicer for them just to go outside and give them some guidance. The second resource is more of a teacher resource, but I have found a lot of great ideas on this one website that I just wanted to share with everyone. It has a lot of great tools for educators and for, you know, social workers, psychologists, of helping students cope with their skills. And the part that I liked the best was the teaching resource section, which focuses on a lot of read alouds, check-ins with the students, strategies and activities that the students can engage in during distant learning, but also things that are adaptable to the classroom. So that was just a teacher resource, but I wanted to include that in one of the boxes. Going over to the right, Ashley and I both use Epic Book a lot, which is a great website, getepic.com. And there are a lot of books on there where students can search for something that will maybe give them a little bit of peace and interest that they like. Or there's books about mindfulness and how to reduce your stress. So books like that where we can point our students in the right direction can definitely be one less, or I should say one outlet for them to escape any stress. The next one is online coloring. So of course, everyone loves coloring, but this was a really cool website because I know a lot of our students love hands-on activities in the classroom. So this is almost like an online coloring book where students can choose an intricate design and then click on the different spaces and colors. So again, a quick escape from doing schoolwork for a little bit, clear your minds, color. The next one is an emoji mood tracker. So Ashley will talk more about that later. The next box, transport your mind. Now that we're all, teaching from home, there's so many resources on virtual field trips where a lot of my students were just craving that warm weather, and, they were writing back to me, we can't wait for it to be nice out. We're stuck in the house. So I found this one website that has so many resources based out of California. So students can visit the San Diego Zoo. They can do webcam activities. They can go to amusement parks, the aquarium. And again, these are all language building activities which can be turned into an assignment. The bottom column has a gratitude challenge. So Ashley will talk about this more, but basically it's a calendar with 22 days that it covers, and then the other days you can add something different, but it allows the students to take the gratitude challenge and, journal about it, record a Flipgrid, something that makes them appreciate the small things in life and really focus in on what they do have during a time like this. And then the final two boxes kind of go hand in hand. Just a short little YouTube series. There's one subscriber who does all yoga poses and steps and whatnot for the students. So there's a link for yoga and for meditation, which I find if I put that in one of my slides, the students can take a quick 5-minute break and just really follow the directions. It's a good listening activity. It's visual. They have to pay attention to the steps. You can also incorporate like a word bank or something with the vocabulary. So those are just some of the choice board assignments. But again, we've taken certain like boxes and turned them into assignments. So if you do want more information on that, we can definitely send you things, and then Ashley will talk about it.
Yes, definitely. We can definitely share out these resources. So as you see, Brianna had her options like an SEL choice board, but there are ways of incorporating maybe one of these boxes as even like a week-long unit or a mini unit. So for something in my class, I took the gratitude journal and I made it very similar looking to my stay-at-home journal. I find that when I do have routines and my students just can grasp it and they're familiar with the format. So I took the gratitude journal, day 1, be grateful for what you have. And I also have the prompts in Spanish because it is social emotional learning. And even though our students are learning English, I do want them to have that slight comfort in their native language while they're expressing their feelings. And for my entering and emerging students, maybe I have them write for students. And Brianna will talk about, how she differentiates at the transitioning level. But it just says, take 5 minutes, write about all the things that you're grateful for. And then the good thing about Google Slides is at the bottom in my presentation notes, I can have sentence starters for my students. So when students are practicing their English, I have the prompts and I have the sentence starters and the scaffolds ready for them so they can succeed. So like day 2 might say, be grateful for everything around you. Write about who you're living with. And then this is really gives me a little bit deeper insight as to who they're living with, what they're grateful for. And it really helps me relate with my students a lot more. So this is student work, as you can see. And then just one more example for day 3, be grateful for who you are. So I feel like with social emotional learning, it's important for students to really, what do you love about yourself? These are things you love about other people, but you really have to focus on yourself. And that comes with like the positive self-talk and all of that. So what do you love about yourself? And then this gives the teacher an opportunity to also comment on the student's strengths. And it really does help build up the students. And I found that when I was conversing with my students via Google Slides and leaving them feedback, you could tell that they were appreciative that, they were able to share something with me and I was able to, continue to praise them and reward them and add on to their strengths.
It also helps to continue those positive relationships. So when we do eventually get back to the classroom, students know that they can trust us. They are confiding in us with some of the information. So it's great for them to be able to, have one less thing on their mind. They can write about it. It's a source of getting everything out on paper. And then it also shows that they respect us, they trust us, and in return, we can kind of be there to support them also virtually and of course in the classroom.
Yeah. And then at the end of my gratitude journal, as Brianna mentioned in her SEL choice board, I had my weekly mood tracker. So every day when they would log on and write about their day in their gratitude journal, they also would have to go to the weekly mood tracker and let me know how they were feeling that day. And it really gave me insight, like, oh, on Thursday, this student didn't submit work. Oh, the student was sick. You know, the student had the flu. They were probably sleeping all day. And, you know, these are things that when you're in school and you see your students every single day, you're able to see if your student's having a bad day, if your student doesn't feel well. But when we're virtually at home, not in contact 24/7, this was a great way of really keeping up to date with how my students felt. And I find that they love the emojis. And there's a million different ways of modifying this activity, you know, making them, you know, encouraging them to write multiple sentences or just jot down their notes. So in this case, they were just jotting down how they felt.
And then the last column we wanted to add, because we felt that it was important for the students to just be self-aware of what's causing these different emotions. So of course an emotion could be negative, but it can also be positive. So we wanted to give the students an opportunity to not just comment on their emotions, but also to think about what might be causing those emotions and also what their action plan will be. So if they're feeling happy, well, what can I keep doing to keep that constant level of happiness, you know, from going down to maybe being upset or stressed? Or if I'm feeling stressed, what might be causing these levels of stress? What can I do to combat that? So it kind of serves as like a dual purpose. They're writing, but they're also being mindful themselves. And hopefully this is something that'll travel with them, even when we are back in the classroom, that they can just be self-aware and develop this lifelong strategy. It's important to be in tune with your feelings.
Yeah. And then the last thing I had on my, in my gratitude journal, which is what Brianna also had on her SEL choice board, is just like take time for yourself. Like you have just worked, it's time for you to focus on yourself. And again, I have the meditation video embedded in the slides. So it's really simple for the students when they're in this document, everything that they need, the weekly mood tracker, the gratitude journal, the meditation, it's all in one place for them. And they can check back each day to add to it. So that's really the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for listening. And if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, there are a few questions. Thank you, ladies. Let me see here. One question was, have you selected a particular group of students to implement this with, or are you doing it for all of your students in all classes?
These were for our ENL students in our standalone classes.
In your standalone, okay, because we have some participants who are just thinking about all of their students. They have about, you know, more than 70 students, so they're just wondering, you know, maybe how to modify it for their, you know, for their own social emotional well-being, you know, overwhelmed maybe with 100 different choice
So
boards.
in our standalone, so in our standalone classes, we have about 20 students, anywhere from 18 till about 22.
Okay.
And those are the entering emerging students, just to let you know.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you, Evelyn. And most of the participants just really love everything that you're doing. And of course, they would like you to share. I think you said that you would be able to share everything.
100%. Yeah, we can share everything. The
All right.
journals and the SEL choice board.
Yeah.
Do you have it as a, just so that participants can be on the lookout, do you have it as a, like a Google link? Can you share that, or?
Yeah, so it'll be three separate Google links that we'll share.
Okay. Do you want to put that in the chat, or do you want to send it to Pat and I, and then we can email it out?
Yeah, whatever's easier. I just have to get the links for you.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe, yeah, if you have a moment before we leave today, if you can put it in the chat, because this way it's immediate. You know, when we're excited about something, you want to take a look at it now, and these are great resources. So
Perfect.
thank you both.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
We'll do that now.
I'm just checking here, make sure we get all of the questions answered. Another question. I think I just see the last name Ruckman or Rutschman. Do you want to ask your question? Are they on there? Let's see. All right, maybe I do see, but they're on mute. How would you do this with NES without previous education and no parent background education? So that was just one of the questions here. I mean, I guess you have to modify it for each, for your students, for each student. I would even create videos. So if you're implementing, ladies, I'm not sure how you rolled out the choice boards, but we've been talking about implementing the incorporating the flipped classroom, even though it's we're totally in distance learning right now. But I would definitely create a video showing students how to use the choice board, how to complete the journals. What did you do to roll out using these different resources?
Yeah, we did modeling with the written assignments, and then also with Flipgrid videos, walking the students through the different steps, and then also giving them examples of the different activities using sentence starters and breaking it down. Like what Ashley was saying before, one activity could be, an entire week. So one day could just be focusing on the vocabulary for the scavenger hunt. The next day could be giving them a fill in the blank. The next day could then be, going outside, applying that. And then the next day could be reflecting and creating a small video to share your experiences. So slowly working them up, but using a lot of modeling and scaffolding for the different levels is what we did.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many different ways that you can modify it for all of your students and make sure that all the students that need to be incorporated and get the resources are able to access it. And I see that Ashley already shared the link to the SEL choice board.
I see people are on it, so I guess it's working. That was my question.
Oh, you're right. Yes, you're right. I do see people in the shared link. Yeah, great. Thank you.
And I'll share the other two, the gratitude and the my stay-at-home journal as well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And just a reminder to those who are accessing it, make a copy for your own Google Drive, because you don't want to start editing the version that the ladies are sharing with us. So make a copy for your own drive first.